Deep within the heart of South America lies a realm of breathtaking wonder and ancient mystery. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth, sprawls across 9 countries, its emerald expanse covering more than 5.5 million square kilometers. This is a vast green ocean of trees stretching beyond the horizon, its canopy forming a living, breathing shield that moderates the planet's climate and weather patterns. The Amazon is the world's largest tropical rainforest, a place where sunlight filters through layers of leaves, nourishing a riot of life. Here, every inch of soil, every droplet of water, and every shaft of light is contested by countless species. Its rivers, like arteries, snake through the jungle, carrying life-giving water and nutrients. These waterways connect a labyrinth of ecosystems, from flooded forests to dry uplands, each with its own unique inhabitants. The Amazon is home to an astonishing diversity of life. Millions of species of plants, insects, fish and animals, many of which exist nowhere else on Earth. From the elusive jaguar to the vibrant poison dart frog, the forest pulses with activity day and night. For countless generations, the Amazon has also been the ancestral home of indigenous peoples. Their knowledge of the land is profound, their traditions and languages shaped by the rhythms of the forest. Their lives are interwoven with the trees, rivers and animals that surround them. This is a place of immense beauty and vital importance, a natural treasure that helps regulate our planet's climate, stores vast amounts of carbon and generates much of the world's fresh water. Yet beneath this vibrant canopy, a hidden war is raging, a conflict that threatens to unravel the delicate balance of this ancient ecosystem. This paradise has become a battlefield, scarred by the relentless advance of deforestation and exploitation. The conflict here is not fought with armies and banners, but in the shadows of ancient trees and along the muddy banks of rivers that once ran clear. On one side stand the guardians of the forest, those who risk everything to protect this irreplaceable land. These are the indigenous communities, environmental activists, and small farmers who see the Amazon as a sacred trust, a living legacy to be preserved for future generations. They fight to protect the land that sustains them, replanting trees, patrolling boundaries, and standing as the last line of defense against destruction. On the other side are the exploiters, those who see the forest only as a resource to be plundered for profit. Illegal loggers, clandestine gold miners, and powerful agribusiness interests drive the relentless destruction, carving roads deep into the wilderness and leaving scars that may never heal. This is not a simple conflict over land, it is a struggle over values, over the very meaning of progress and prosperity. It is a brutal struggle for the soul of the Amazon, a contest between preservation and exploitation, between hope and despair. The stakes are impossibly high, measured not only in hectares lost, but in human lives and the future of our planet. For those who stand in the way of destruction, the consequences can be deadly. Fear and vigilance are constant companions. Death threats are a part of daily life, a chilling reminder of the risks faced by those who defend the forest. Intimidation is a constant presence, lurking in every shadow, every rustle in the undergrowth. Violence is a tool used to silence those who dare to speak out, leaving scars both physical and psychological. Here, defending a tree or protecting a river can cost you everything: your home, your safety, even your life. The quiet hum of the forest is too often shattered by the roar of chainsaws and the chilling echo of gunfire, reminders of the relentless assault on this living world. The battle lines are drawn between those who seek to preserve this vital ecosystem and those who are driven by greed and short-term gain. It is a story of heroes and villains, of immense courage and ruthless cruelty, played out in the shadows of the world's greatest forest. The fight for the Amazon is a microcosm of a larger global struggle, a battle between sustainable existence and unsustainable consumption, between the needs of the many and the greed of the few. What happens here in this remote and magnificent wilderness has profound implications for all of humanity. The Amazon's fate is our fate. The fate of this emerald war zone is inextricably linked to the fate of the world. Every tree that falls brings us one step closer to an irreversible tipping point, a future where the Amazon and all it sustains may be lost forever. To be a defender of the Amazon is to live with a target on your back. Every day these men wake before dawn, their senses sharpened by the knowledge that danger could be waiting in the shadows. The men who stand up to the powerful forces of destruction do so at immense personal risk. Their families depend on them, their communities look to them for protection, and the forest itself seems to breathe with their courage. They are not soldiers in a conventional war, but their fight is just as perilous. Each patrol through the forest is a test of nerve and resolve, a journey into territory where the line between friend and foe is blurred. Activists and indigenous leaders who organize resistance against illegal logging or mining operations regularly receive death threats. The threats are not abstract. They are personal, direct, and relentless. These are not idle warnings. They are delivered by armed men who appear at their homes, by anonymous phone calls, or through chilling messages passed through their communities. The message is always the same: stop resisting or pay the price. The goal is simple: to instill fear, to create an atmosphere of terror that silences opposition and allows the exploitation to continue unopposed. For many, the fear is not just for themselves, but for their brothers, sons, and elders. Consider the story of Paulo, an activist who has been a thorn in the side of local ranchers and loggers since 2012. His commitment to sustainable agroforestry and the defence of ancestral lands has made him a marked man. For his work, Paulo was visited by a group of 12 armed men. They did not come to kill him immediately. First they tried to bribe him, offering him money to abandon his cause. When he refused, they promised to return with more money, a veiled threat that his compliance was not optional. The message was clear: everyone has a price, and those who refuse to be bought will face consequences. Paulo reported the incident to the federal police, but in this part of the world, such reports often vanish into a void of inaction. The machinery of justice grinds slowly, if at all, and the defenders are left to fend for themselves. The threats became a constant shadow over his life, a daily reminder of the powerful enemies he had made. Every step outside, every unfamiliar sound at night became a potential warning. The retaliation can be insidious and cruel, going beyond direct violence. Sometimes it is economic: crops burned in the night, livestock poisoned, or access to markets quietly blocked. Other times it is social: ostracism from neighbouring communities, false rumours spread to undermine their credibility, or pressure placed on relatives to force them to give up the fight. The cost of resistance is not just measured in physical danger, but in the slow erosion of trust, the isolation that comes from standing against powerful interests. Sometimes the retaliation is bureaucratic. After refusing to be bought, Paulo found himself denied access to basic services, permits revoked, medical care delayed, or legal documents lost in endless red tape. By withholding support, his enemies found a way to wear him down without firing a single shot. It is a slow, calculated, and bureaucratic form of execution, a testament to how deeply the roots of corruption have penetrated the systems meant to protect citizens. As Paulo himself has said, this form of retaliation was worse than being shot. It is a daily struggle against despair, a battle to keep hope alive when the odds seem insurmountable. The paperwork, the denials, the endless waiting, These are weapons as effective as any gun, wielded by those who profit from silence and submission. This is a recurring tragedy across the Amazon. The defenders of the forest are hunted, harassed, and sometimes killed, their sacrifices often going unnoticed by the outside world. The story of Chico Mendes, the rubber tapper and environmentalist murdered in 1988, is a famous example, but his is just one name among many. For every Chico, there are dozens more whose stories remain untold. Countless others have been killed for the same cause, their names less known, but their sacrifice no less profound. Each grave is a testament to the price of defending the Amazon. Hitmen are hired by wealthy landowners and criminal bosses, paid to eliminate those who obstruct their path to profit. The violence is organized, systematic, and often protected by layers of impunity. One hired killer admitted to murdering over 20 activists. For him, it was a job, nothing personal, just business in a world where life is cheap and justice is rare. For these guardians of the forest, every day is an act of bravery. They walk the line between hope and fear, knowing that their stand may cost them everything. They continue their fight not for glory or wealth, but for the survival of their homes, their cultures, and the world we all share. Their courage is a beacon, a reminder that the battle for the Amazon is not just about trees and rivers, but about the very soul of humanity. The sound of a chainsaw in the Amazon is the sound of a wound being opened in the earth. Each cut is a violent act, echoing through the forest, signalling the loss of a living giant that has stood for centuries. Illegal logging is one of the most visible and destructive forces tearing the forest apart. The devastation is not hidden. It is written across the land in the form of vast clearings, muddy scars, and the silence where once there was birdsong. Operating in the shadows, often deep within protected conservation areas, criminal logging syndicates deploy sophisticated methods to evade the law. Their camps are hidden, their operations swift and ruthless. They use lookouts and radio communications to monitor the movements of environmental agents, creating a network of intelligence that allows them to operate with near impunity. These men are vigilant, always ready to vanish at the first sign of trouble. When enforcement teams do get close, the loggers have a simple but effective tactic, felling massive trees across the narrow jungle roads, creating impassable barriers that allow their trucks, laden with stolen timber, to escape. These blockades can take hours, sometimes days, to clear, giving the criminals a crucial head start. The scale of this plunder is staggering. In some regions, entire hillsides are stripped bare in a matter of weeks, leaving behind a wasteland of stumps and mud. From a single illegal logging site, it is estimated that as many as 10 large trucks can be loaded with timber each day. These convoys move under the cover of darkness, evading checkpoints and bribing their way through weak points in enforcement. Each truck carries between 20 and 25 cubic meters of valuable wood, such as ipe, a prized hardwood sometimes called Amazonian ebony. The value of a single load can reach tens of thousands of dollars, fueling a lucrative black market. This wood, illegally harvested from protected lands, eventually finds its way into the global market, transformed into luxury decking, high-end furniture and flooring for wealthy consumers thousands of miles away. The origins of these products are often hidden behind forged documents and false certifications. The forest is being dismantled, tree by priceless tree, to satisfy a demand that is largely unaware of its devastating origins. Each log removed is a piece of the Amazon's future stolen away. The environmental impact is catastrophic. The loss of ancient trees disrupts the entire ecosystem, from the canopy to the forest floor. The removal of the ancient towering trees of the primary forest tears a hole in the canopy, exposing the fragile forest floor to the harsh sun and rain. The microclimate shifts, and the once cool, humid understory becomes hot and dry. This disruption damages the delicate microclimate, leading to soil erosion and the loss of countless smaller plants and animals that depend on the shade and humidity of the intact forest. The chain of life is broken, and many species vanish before they are even known to science. The logging roads themselves become scars on the land, fragmenting habitats and acting as highways for further invasion and deforestation. These roads open the forest to poachers, miners and settlers, accelerating the cycle of destruction. What was once a continuous, resilient ecosystem becomes a patchwork of degraded land, vulnerable to fire and colonization. The forest's ability to recover is diminished with each new wound. This destruction is not just an ecological tragedy, it is a social one. The scars left by illegal logging run deep through the lives of those who depend on the forest for survival. For the indigenous communities and traditional river people, the forest is their pharmacy, their supermarket, and their spiritual sanctuary. Every tree felled is a loss of food, medicine, and tradition. The trees that are stolen are the very ones that provide them with food, medicine, and the raw materials for their homes and tools. The knowledge passed down through generations is tied to the living forest, now disappearing before their eyes. The illegal logging operations bring violence, alcoholism and disease into their territories, shattering a way of life that has existed in harmony with the forest for generations. Clashes between indigenous men and armed loggers are becoming more frequent, and the threat of outside influence grows with every incursion. The unseen wounds of logging are not just in the land, but in the very soul of the communities that call the Amazon home. The scars left behind are a stark reminder of what is lost. Not only trees, but culture, identity, and hope for the future. If illegal logging scars the land, then illegal gold mining poisons its veins, seeping into every corner of the Amazon's vast, intricate network of rivers and streams. For centuries, the promise of gold has lured men, garimperos, deep into the rainforest. What began as a solitary quest with simple tools has evolved into a relentless industrial onslaught, leaving devastation in its wake. In towns like Itaituba, the illegal gold trade is the lifeblood of the local economy. Every month, over a ton of gold passes through its markets, fueling both dreams and destruction. The days of lone miners with pans and shovels are fading. Now the riverbanks are dominated by powerful machines and organized crews. These industrial dredges, floating behemoths of steel and diesel, scour the riverbeds with relentless efficiency, vacuuming up entire stretches of river in search of elusive gold dust. The environmental toll is staggering. Sediment clouds choke the water, suffocating fish eggs and destroying breeding grounds. The river's natural flow is altered, its banks eroded, and its ecosystem thrown into chaos. Day and night the roar of engines drowns out the sounds of the forest. For those living nearby, the constant noise is a reminder that the forest's peace has been shattered. Yet the most insidious threat is invisible. The water may look unchanged, but it hides a deadly secret. To extract gold, miners use mercury, a potent neurotoxin. They pour it directly onto the sediment, binding it to gold particles in a process as dangerous as it is effective. Most of this mercury is washed straight into the river, where it seeps into the food chain, poisoning everything in its path. The water becomes unsafe to drink. Fish, once a staple, now carry invisible toxins in their flesh. Fishermen like Joao, who has worked these rivers since boyhood, now hesitates before bringing his catch home. The consequences ripple through entire communities. Men gather at the river's edge, debating whether it's safe to let their children swim or drink from the water that once sustained them. The rivers that once provided life now threaten it. The contrast between past and present is stark. Clear water replaced by murky, poisoned streams. For many, fish remains the main source of protein, but every meal is now a gamble as mercury accumulates in their bodies with each bite. The health impacts are severe. Men watch helplessly as their children suffer from neurological damage, birth defects and developmental delays, silent victims of a poison they cannot see. Elders recall a time when the river was pure, teeming with fish and life. Now they warn the younger generation of dangers their ancestors never imagined. Trust in the river is gone. Men who once drank freely now question every sip, every catch, every meal. The river, once the heart of daily life, has become a source of anxiety and loss. The banks that bustled with activity now stand eerily quiet. The scars left by mining are visible from above. Vast swathes of land stripped bare, riverbeds gouged and reshaped beyond recognition. Rivers, once deep and navigable, are now shallow and clogged with silt. Transport grinds to a halt, isolating villages and cutting off vital supplies. Communities are left stranded, unable to reach markets, healthcare, or even neighbouring friends and family. The social fabric begins to unravel. The once clear waters are now lifeless and brown, choked with silt and devoid of the abundance that once defined the Amazon. The curse of illegal gold mining is a cruel paradox. It promises fortune, but leaves only desolation, broken dreams, and a landscape forever changed. The heart of the Amazon is torn out, replaced by poisoned water, sickened communities, and a broken ecosystem. For the men who once found hope in the river's promise, only uncertainty remains, an inheritance of loss that may never be undone. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the planet, is under siege from forces far more insidious than the chainsaw or the pickaxe. While logging and mining leave deep, localized scars, it is the relentless march of agribusiness, primarily cattle ranching and soy cultivation, that is systematically erasing the forest on a scale that dwarfs all other threats. This transformation is not sudden, but rather a slow-motion catastrophe, unfolding over decades and reshaping the very fabric of the Amazon. The process often begins at the forest's edge, where loggers extract the most valuable hardwoods, leaving behind a patchwork of disturbed land. Once the timber is gone, the land is left vulnerable. Its protective canopy shattered, its soil exposed. What follows is a brutal clearing. The remaining trees are felled and set ablaze, releasing plumes of smoke that drift for miles and signalling the end of a once thriving ecosystem. The aftermath is a landscape of ash and silence, where the calls of birds and the rustle of mammals are replaced by the crackle of fire and the hum of machinery. Into this void grass is sown, an alien species, often imported, that takes root in the nutrient-poor soil. Soon cattle are introduced, grazing on the new pastures, their presence a stark contrast to the teeming biodiversity that once existed here. Cattle ranching in the Amazon is a paradox. It consumes vast tracts of land, yet supports relatively few animals per hectare, yielding low economic returns compared to the ecological cost. In the state of Para, a region emblematic of this crisis, the scale of deforestation is staggering. Para alone covers an area larger than many European nations, and nearly 1/5 of its original forest has already been lost. The transformation is visible from space. Satellite images reveal a patchwork of green and brown, where forest once stretched unbroken to the horizon. Much of this lost forest has been replaced by cattle ranches, their boundaries marked by fences and dirt roads. These ranches often expand illegally, encroaching on protected conservation units and indigenous territories, driven by a relentless demand for land and profit. Bulldozers push ever deeper into the forest, flattening ancient trees and erasing habitats that took millennia to evolve. The sight of cattle grazing among the blackened stumps of giant trees is a haunting symbol of this ecological conversion. The Amazon's intricate, multi-layered world is reduced to a flat, monotonous expanse of grass, a biological monoculture that supports little life. But the story does not end with cattle. As land becomes degraded and less productive for grazing, another agricultural force moves in: industrial soy cultivation. The land, stripped of its original fertility by years of grazing, is ploughed and planted with soybeans, a crop that demands chemical fertilizers and pesticides to thrive in these depleted soils. Soy plantations stretch for miles, their uniform rows replacing the chaotic diversity of the rainforest with a single species. The vast majority of this soy is not destined for local consumption. Instead, it is loaded onto trucks and ships bound for distant markets. Europe and China are the primary destinations, where Amazonian soy becomes a key ingredient in animal feed for poultry, pigs and farmed fish. The connection is direct. Beef, chicken, pork and fish consumed thousands of miles away are linked to the destruction of the world's greatest rainforest. The burger on a table in London, the pork in a Beijing restaurant, each is a product of a global system that incentivizes the conversion of rainforest into farmland. This system is driven by international demand, financial speculation, and government policies that often prioritize short-term economic gain over long-term ecological health. The consequences are severe. The thin tropical soils, once protected by dense forest, are quickly exhausted by intensive agriculture and grazing. Without the forest's protective cover, the land is exposed to the elements, sun, wind and rain, leading to rapid erosion and loss of fertility. Gullies form, topsoil washes away, and what remains is a barren, unproductive landscape. The web of life that once thrived here, countless species of plants, insects, birds and mammals, is erased, replaced by silence and emptiness. Only a handful of species can survive in these new monocultures, and the land's ability to recover is severely diminished. For local communities, especially men who rely on the forest for hunting, gathering and small-scale farming, the loss is deeply personal and immediate. The advance of agribusiness pushes them off their ancestral lands, forcing difficult choices about their future. Many face a stark decision: displacement or assimilation into a system that is destroying the very world they once called home. Legal battles over land rights are common as men fight to retain control over their territories in the face of powerful economic interests. Some have become activists, risking their safety to draw attention to the destruction and to demand accountability from corporations and governments. Scientists, often working alongside local men, document the loss of species and the collapse of ecological networks, warning of consequences that extend far beyond the Amazon. The impacts ripple outward. Rivers dry up, fish populations collapse, and the regional climate becomes hotter and drier, threatening agriculture and livelihoods. Even in urban areas, men feel the effects: reduced access to forest products, increased food prices, and a sense of loss that is hard to quantify. Internationally, policymakers and businessmen debate solutions, but progress is slow and often undermined by conflicting interests. Some hope remains in reforestation efforts, where men plant native trees and experiment with sustainable land management, seeking to restore what has been lost. These projects are small compared to the scale of destruction, but they offer a vision of a different future, one where the Amazon's value is recognized not just in economic terms, but as a living system essential to the planet's health. The fate of the Amazon hangs in the balance, shaped by choices made in boardrooms, government offices, and on the ground by men who call the forest home. The world is watching, and the outcome will resonate far beyond the borders of Brazil, affecting the climate, biodiversity, and future of us all. Section 6. The Shadow State: Corruption, Impunity, and Profit. The devastation of the Amazon is not the work of isolated criminals, but the result of a vast interconnected web of corruption that stretches from the forest floor to the highest offices in the land. Political corruption is the engine that drives environmental crime. Officials at every level, from local mayors to federal deputies, are often complicit, turning a blind eye, or even actively facilitating illegal operations in exchange for bribes. In Para, environmental crime is woven into the fabric of daily governance. Local politicians have been known to host private meetings with loggers and miners, negotiating protection and access in exchange for campaign funds. It's estimated that up to 90% of political campaigns in Para are bankrolled by money from illegal logging, clandestine mining and land grabbing. This financial dependency ensures that those in power are beholden to the very networks they should be dismantling. The result is a vicious cycle. Politicians grant favours and protection to criminal enterprises who in turn secure their political futures. Enforcement agencies are often pressured to look the other way or are simply outmatched by the resources of those they are supposed to police. Impunity is the norm. In many cases, investigations into environmental crime stall indefinitely, and prosecutions rarely lead to convictions. When penalties are imposed, they are often trivial compared to the profits at stake. A fine is simply a line item in the cost of doing business. For many, the risk of a minor penalty is outweighed by the enormous financial rewards. Take Ipawood, for example. A single cubic metre can fetch over 1,000 Brazilian reals locally, and much more on the international market. With tens of thousands of cubic metres extracted each year, the profits are staggering, fueling a relentless drive to clear more forest. The lure of easy money ensures a steady supply of men willing to risk everything, from local labourers to seasoned criminal organisers. Yet the true masterminds rarely set foot in the forest. They operate from air-conditioned offices in São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro, orchestrating land grabs and laundering profits through complex financial networks. These financiers profit not only from timber and minerals, but also from the speculative value of cleared land, which is often sold to ranchers or developers. Agencies like IBAMA and the Chico Mendes Institute are tasked with defending the Amazon, but they are chronically underfunded and outgunned. With limited staff and outdated equipment, they are expected to police an area larger than Western Europe. The sheer scale of the territory makes effective enforcement nearly impossible. Helicopters and off-road vehicles are in short supply, leaving agents unable to reach remote sites before the damage is done. The agents who do venture out face real danger. Aircraft are sabotaged, vehicles are shot at, and threats are a daily reality. In one notorious incident, a team of agents was ambushed while attempting to seize illegal timber, forced to retreat under gunfire. Death threats are common, and some agents have been forced to relocate their families for safety. Political interference further undermines enforcement. Operations are cancelled at the last minute, evidence disappears, and honest agents are sidelined. One agent described how, after months of investigation, his team was ordered to stand down just as they were about to make arrests, an order that came directly from the governor's office. In another case, state police withdrew support from an IBAMA raid, leaving agents exposed and forcing them to abandon the operation. These interventions are often traced back to powerful economic interests, businessmen who use their influence to halt enforcement and protect their investments. Publicly, officials boast about new technology and high-profile arrests, but these are often for show. Behind the scenes, a shadow state operates, one where the machinery of destruction is protected by those meant to stop it. The formal government is too weak, too compromised, or too afraid to confront the true scale of the problem. The law exists, but in much of the Amazon it is little more than a formality, ignored by those with the power and money to bend it to their will. Section 7. The veins of a body. Indigenous resistance and identity. For the indigenous peoples of the Amazon, the forest is not a commodity to be extracted or a backdrop for development. It is the very foundation of their existence, shaping every aspect of their daily lives and beliefs. The forest is their home, their source of sustenance, their medicine chest, and their sacred ground. Their identity, culture, and spirituality are woven into the fabric of the trees, rivers, and animals that surround them. The intricate network of rivers is seen not just as a means of travel, but as the veins of a living body, their body and the body of the forest itself. As indigenous leaders like João Munduruku explain, when the rivers are poisoned with mercury and the forest is cut down, it is felt as a direct assault on their very being. The destruction of the Amazon is experienced as the dismemberment of their own existence, a loss that cannot be measured in economic terms. This profound connection to the land fuels a determined and courageous resistance. Confronted by a government that has often failed to uphold their constitutional rights, many indigenous groups have taken the defence of their territories into their own hands. The Munduruku people, for example, have initiated their own auto-demarcation, physically mapping and marking the boundaries of their 173,000-hectare ancestral territory. This is a bold act of self-determination, a clear declaration to the world that this land is theirs, and they will defend it. Yet, loggers, miners and ranchers who invade their lands disregard these boundaries, viewing the indigenous presence as an obstacle to be eliminated. This resistance is a David and Goliath struggle, with indigenous men standing against overwhelming odds. Armed with little more than traditional weapons and an unbreakable resolve, these communities face heavily armed criminal gangs and the vast economic power of multinational corporations. They organize patrols to monitor their territory for invaders, documenting illegal activities and reporting them to authorities, even when their calls for help are ignored. They have embraced technology, using GPS and drones to supplement their deep ancestral knowledge, blending modern tools with ancient wisdom in their fight for survival. Their struggle is not only for land rights, but for the preservation of a way of life that offers a radically different vision for humanity's relationship with nature. Their leaders speak with a clarity and wisdom that cuts through the tangled politics of the region, offering perspectives rooted in generations of experience. They witness the so-called intelligence of outsiders being used for self-destruction, creating wealth by destroying the very systems that sustain life. They argue that their fight is not just for the Munduruku or the Yanomami or any single group. It is a fight for everyone, for the future of the planet itself. These men are on the front lines, defending the lungs of the planet, protecting biodiversity and climate stability for all of humanity. They are acutely aware that their struggle is for the future of the world, even as the world remains largely unaware of their sacrifice. Through oral tradition, elders pass down stories of resistance, survival and respect for the land, ensuring that each new generation understands the sacred responsibility they inherit. Skills such as hunting, fishing and navigation are taught not just as means of survival, but as acts of stewardship and guardianship over the land. Ceremonies and rituals reinforce their connection to the forest, marking important transitions and reaffirming their commitment to protect their territory. Increasingly, indigenous men are stepping into national and international arenas, advocating for their rights and the rights of the forest in courts, conferences and global summits. They are forging alliances with scientists, environmentalists and activists, sharing their knowledge and working together to document the value of the Amazon's ecosystems. Communication technology has become a vital tool, allowing them to alert the world to threats and mobilize support in real time. Even as they adapt to new challenges, they maintain the skills and traditions that have sustained their people for centuries. Some communities have begun reforestation projects, planting native species and restoring damaged areas, demonstrating their commitment to healing the land. Victories, though hard-won and often temporary, are celebrated as proof that resistance is possible and that the spirit of the forest endures through those who defend it. In quiet moments, elders remind the young that their struggle is not just for survival, but for dignity, memory, and the hope that the world will one day recognize the true value of the Amazon and its guardians. Section 8. The Global Appetite: How Our Choices Fuel the Flames. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth, is not just a distant wilderness. Its fate is intimately tied to the daily decisions made by people around the world, especially in developed nations. The destruction unfolding in the Amazon is not simply a local tragedy, it is a global crisis, driven by the interconnected web of international demand, trade and consumption. When a tree falls in the Amazon, the echo can be heard in the aisles of supermarkets in North America, the kitchens of Europe, and the boardrooms of multinational corporations. The choices made in these places, what to eat, what to buy, how to invest, send powerful signals that ripple across continents and shape the future of the rainforest. Consider the global beef industry. Vast swathes of the Amazon are cleared each year to create pasture for cattle. This beef is not just consumed locally, much of it is exported, ending up as burgers in fast food chains, steaks in restaurants, and processed meat in grocery stores from Los Angeles to London. In 2022 alone, Brazil exported over 2 million tons of beef, with a significant portion coming from regions once covered by dense rainforest. The story does not end with beef. Leather, a byproduct of the cattle industry, is shipped worldwide and transformed into luxury car interiors, designer shoes and sports equipment. Major automotive and fashion brands have been linked to supply chains that trace back to deforested Amazon land. Each purchase of a leather product can, unknowingly, contribute to the loss of irreplaceable forest. Another major driver is soy. The Amazon and its surrounding biomes have become the world's breadbasket for soybeans, much of which is not eaten directly by people, but by livestock. European and Asian farms import millions of tons of Brazilian soy each year to feed chickens, pigs and fish. This means that a chicken sandwich in Paris or a salmon fillet in Berlin may have its origins in a field where rainforest once stood. The impact of these choices is not limited to food. Illegal gold mining, often using toxic mercury, devastates river systems and indigenous territories. The gold extracted is laundered through complex networks and eventually finds its way into international markets, becoming investment bars, coins and jewellery. The true cost of a gold ring or a bullion bar is often hidden, but it may include poisoned rivers and displaced communities. Timber is another commodity with a global footprint. Logs harvested, sometimes illegally from the Amazon, are processed and exported as hardwood flooring, furniture and construction materials. Even when regulations exist, weak enforcement and fraudulent paperwork allow illegal wood to enter the global market, making it difficult for consumers to know the true origin of their purchases. The role of international finance cannot be overstated. Major banks, investment funds and corporations provide the capital that enables large-scale agricultural expansion, mining and infrastructure projects. For example, French energy giant EDF has been linked to controversial hydroelectric dam projects that threaten to flood vast tracts of forest and displace indigenous communities. Global investors, often far removed from the Amazon, may unknowingly fund environmental destruction through their portfolios. The complexity of global supply chains further obscures these connections. Products pass through many hands, countries and processes before reaching the end consumer. Labels rarely tell the full story. A steak, a leather wallet, a gold watch, or a wooden table may all carry the hidden legacy of deforestation, pollution, and social upheaval. The consequences of these choices are profound. The Amazon is home to thousands of unique species, many found nowhere else on Earth. Its rivers regulate rainfall patterns across South America and beyond, influencing weather, agriculture, and water supplies for millions. The forest stores vast amounts of carbon, helping to stabilize the global climate. When it is destroyed, the effects are felt worldwide through increased greenhouse gas emissions, loss of biodiversity, and disruption of weather systems. Yet, the power to change this trajectory lies in the hands of consumers, companies, and policymakers around the globe. Greater transparency in supply chains is essential. Technologies like satellite monitoring, blockchain tracking, and third-party certification can help trace the origins of products and hold companies accountable. Some companies have begun to adopt zero deforestation commitments, pledging not to source commodities from recently cleared land. However, enforcement remains a challenge, and loopholes persist. It is up to consumers to demand more by choosing certified products, supporting responsible brands, and asking tough questions about where their food, clothing, and investments come from. Governments in importing countries also play a crucial role. By enacting laws that require companies to prove their products are not linked to deforestation, they can shift the incentives for producers and traders. The European Union, for example, has recently passed regulations to restrict imports of commodities tied to forest loss. Ultimately, the Amazon's fate is a shared responsibility. The comfort and convenience of modern life, from affordable meat to luxury goods, are often subsidized by the destruction of this vital ecosystem. Recognizing this connection is the first step toward meaningful change. Every purchase, every investment, every meal is a choice. By making informed, responsible decisions, individuals and institutions can help protect the Amazon and ensure its survival for generations to come. We are all connected to the Amazon. Its future depends on the choices we make, today and every day. Section 9. The Final Stand, a battle for the planet's future. The struggle unfolding in the Amazon is not just a local dispute over territory or resources. It is a defining moment for the future of our planet, a confrontation that will determine the fate of one of Earth's most vital life support systems. The Amazon rainforest is often called the lungs of the Earth, producing a significant share of the planet's oxygen and acting as a stabilizer for global weather patterns. Its vast canopy stores billions of tons of carbon, serving as a crucial buffer against climate change. The Amazon's intricate web of life supports countless species, many of which remain undiscovered. But as the forest is cleared and burned, the carbon it has locked away for centuries is released, fueling the very crisis it was meant to prevent. Scientists warn that we are nearing a tipping point. If deforestation continues, the Amazon could transform into a dry, savanna-like landscape, unable to sustain its current biodiversity or climate functions. The consequences would be catastrophic, not only for Brazil, but for the entire world. Rainfall patterns would shift, affecting agriculture and water supplies across continents. The Amazon's collapse would trigger food shortages, economic instability and mass migrations as communities far beyond South America feel the impact. The loss of the Amazon would also mean the extinction of millions of species, many of which could hold the secrets to new medicines or technologies. The Amazon is a living library, its creatures and plants representing untold possibilities for science and humanity. If the forest falls, a massive surge of carbon will enter the atmosphere, making it nearly impossible to meet global climate goals. The Amazon's fate is not a side issue, it is central to the stability of the world we all share. The human cost of inaction is already painfully clear. It is paid in the lives of activists like Paulo Paulino Guajajara, a member of the Guardians of the Forest, who was murdered defending his land. It is paid by indigenous communities whose men patrol the forest, risking their lives to protect their ancestral home from illegal loggers and miners. These communities are being poisoned by the rivers that once sustained them, their traditions and livelihoods threatened as the forest disappears. Small farmers and river dwellers, many of them men who have worked the land for generations, are being forced out by the relentless advance of agribusiness. Their struggle is deeply human, a fight for dignity, for their homes, and for the right to exist in harmony with the forest. Their courage in the face of overwhelming odds is a testament to the resilience and determination of the human spirit. What is at stake in the Amazon's hidden battle is nothing less than the future of humanity itself. The heroes on the front lines are not just fighting for their own survival, they are fighting for all of us, for generations yet to come. Their desperate stand is a warning, a call to action for the world to change course before it is too late. Our current path, driven by unsustainable consumption, greed and indifference, leads us toward disaster. The choice is ours to make. We can continue to be complicit in destruction, or we can recognize our connection to this vital place and demand a new direction. We can support the guardians of the forest, hold corporations and governments to account, and make choices that honor the irreplaceable value of this world. The final stand for the Amazon is happening now. The outcome will define the world that our sons and the generations that follow will inherit. The time to act is now. Beneath the emerald canopy of the Amazon lies a world few have ever seen, a hidden universe teeming with life, mystery and wonder. The rainforest is not just a collection of trees, but a vast interwoven tapestry of creatures and plants, each playing a vital role in the ecosystem. Somewhere in the shadows, the jaguar stalks its prey, a silent guardian at the top of the food chain. Its presence shapes the behavior of countless other animals, maintaining the delicate balance of life below. In the branches above, the harpy eagle soars, its piercing gaze searching for monkeys and sloths, demonstrating nature's precision engineering. The Amazon is home to the electric eel, capable of delivering a shock strong enough to stun a caiman. Poison dart frogs, their skin painted in neon hues, announce their toxicity to would-be predators. Leafcutter ants march in endless columns, carrying fragments many times their own weight. Their underground kingdoms cultivate fungus, an example of sophisticated agriculture that predates human farming by millions of years. In this living laboratory, the relationships between species are intricate and surprising. Trees communicate through underground fungal networks, sharing nutrients and warnings about pests. Orchids rely on specific insect pollinators, while fruiting trees feed troops of capuchin monkeys who in turn disperse seeds far and wide. Many of these species remain undiscovered, their secrets still locked away in the forest's depths. Some may hold the key to new medicines, breakthroughs in agriculture, or solutions to environmental challenges we have yet to imagine. Every loss in the Amazon is not just the disappearance of a single species, but the unravelling of complex ecological threads that sustain life. The survival of this hidden biodiversity is not guaranteed. It depends on the preservation of vast, unbroken tracts of forest and the protection of the men who dedicate their lives to stewardship of this land. Conservation is not just about saving animals or plants, it is about preserving the intricate systems that make life on Earth possible. The Amazon's secrets are a gift to the world, one that we cannot afford to squander. In defending this living forest, we are not only protecting countless species, but safeguarding the future of all life, including our own. The challenge is immense, but the rewards are beyond measure. The Amazon's hidden wonders remind us of what is at stake and why the fight to save this irreplaceable paradise must continue. In the struggle to protect the Amazon, a new set of allies has emerged, not in the form of rangers or ancient spirits, but as machines and data. Technology is rapidly becoming one of the forest's most powerful defenders, providing tools that reveal threats and guide conservation efforts with unprecedented precision. High above the treetops, satellites orbit silently, capturing images that expose illegal logging, mining, and fires in near real time. These eyes in the sky help authorities pinpoint where the forest is being destroyed, often before the damage becomes irreversible. With each scan, they create a living map, tracking the health of millions of hectares and alerting teams on the ground. On the front lines, drones take flight, soaring over dense, inaccessible jungle. Equipped with high-resolution cameras and thermal sensors, they spot chainsaws, camps, and even the heat signatures of intruders hidden beneath the canopy. Rangers can respond swiftly, intercepting threats before they escalate. In some remote areas, drones deliver vital supplies and relay live video, keeping patrols connected and safe. Artificial intelligence is now a crucial partner in this fight. Algorithms sift through mountains of satellite data, identifying patterns and predicting where the next incursion might occur. AI systems can recognize the telltale scars of deforestation or the shimmer of illegal gold mining operations, flagging them for immediate action. Some programs even listen to the rainforest's sounds, detecting the distant buzz of a chainsaw or the crash of falling trees, sending instant alerts to those tasked with defending the land. Conservationists and Indigenous guardians harness these technologies to monitor sacred territories and document evidence of environmental crimes. With GPS and satellite phones, they navigate vast expanses, coordinate patrols, and share critical information with enforcement agencies. Even the most remote corners of the Amazon are no longer out of reach. The fusion of traditional knowledge and cutting-edge technology is transforming the fight for the Amazon. These tools do not replace the courage and dedication of those on the ground, but they amplify their efforts, making every patrol, every intervention, and every discovery more effective. In a world where threats to the rainforest are evolving, so too must the strategies to protect it. The digital guardians of the Amazon offer hope, proof that innovation, when wielded wisely, can tip the balance in favor of preservation. The forest's future may depend not only on ancient wisdom, but on the relentless advance of technology, united in the quest to keep the heart of the planet beating strong. While technology brings new tools to the fight for the Amazon, lasting change depends on offering local communities real alternatives to destructive industries. Across the rainforest, innovative projects are planting the seeds of a sustainable future, proving that economic growth and conservation can go hand in hand. Ecotourism is one such path. Guided by those who know the forest best, visitors experience the Amazon's wonders without leaving a harmful mark. This model creates jobs, from leading wildlife tours to building eco-lodges with local materials, all while preserving the ecosystem that draws travellers from around the world. Sustainable harvesting offers another lifeline. Careful collection of Brazil nuts, acai berries and medicinal plants provides steady income while encouraging the protection of old-growth trees. These products, sourced directly from the rainforest, connect global markets to the value of keeping the forest intact. Renewable energy, too, is reshaping the landscape. Solar panels and micro-hydro systems bring clean power to remote communities, reducing dependence on diesel and illegal logging for fuel. With reliable electricity, new businesses can flourish, everything from local crafts to forest-friendly technology services. These sustainable alternatives are more than just economic strategies. They are a promise that the forest and its people can thrive together, By supporting these efforts, consumers and policymakers can help turn the tide, making the Amazon's survival a shared success story. In the heart of the rainforest, every choice counts, and these choices, grounded in respect for the land and its guardians, light the way toward a future where the Amazon remains a living, breathing wonder for generations to come. The fate of the Amazon extends far beyond its borders. Recognizing the rainforest's vital role in stabilizing the global climate, nations and organizations worldwide have joined forces to protect this irreplaceable ecosystem. International treaties, such as the Paris Agreement, place the Amazon at the heart of global climate commitments, urging countries to reduce deforestation and invest in reforestation projects. Bilateral agreements and cross-border collaborations bring together governments, scientists and indigenous leaders to share knowledge, coordinate enforcement and track illegal activities. Funding from abroad supports conservation programs, law enforcement operations and sustainable development projects, reinforcing the idea that safeguarding the Amazon is a shared responsibility. At the United Nations, global leaders continue to negotiate stronger protections for primary forests, while trade policies increasingly reward products that are certified as forest-friendly. Consumer nations use their influence to demand transparency and accountability from supply chains linked to the Amazon, helping to curb the demand for products that drive deforestation. Despite political challenges and shifting priorities, these collective efforts represent hope on a planetary scale. When countries unite in action and purpose, the Amazon's survival becomes not just a regional issue, but a global mission, one that acknowledges our interconnected future and the need for enduring stewardship of the world's largest rainforest. As the world stands at a crossroads, the Amazon's future is unwritten, shaped by the choices made today. Imagine one path where unchecked exploitation continues. The rainforest shrinks, rivers run muddy with sediment, and once vibrant habitats fall silent. Local communities struggle to survive as resources dwindle, and the loss of the Amazon's mighty carbon sink accelerates climate change worldwide. But there is another vision. In this future, bold conservation efforts, technological advances and international cooperation turn the tide. Forests begin to recover. Indigenous guardians, rangers and scientists work together using real-time data to stop illegal activity before it spreads. Sustainable livelihoods thrive in harmony with the forest, and global markets reward products that protect, not destroy, the Amazon. The difference between these futures lies in the actions taken now by governments, companies and individuals. The Amazon's fate is not sealed. It is a story still being written, page by page, by all those who choose to stand for its survival. The question remains, which future will we create?